The day the eldest young master decided to take me as his concubine, the second young master, Xiao Jibai, pulled me into his arms and whispered, "What's so good about becoming someone else's concubine? A concubine is nothing more than a plaything. Xiaoman, don't go. Wait for me. One day I will marry you as my principal wife." In my previous life I had believed him. I had willingly remained a maidservant at his side. After he passed the imperial examinations and earned the title of Tanhua, he married Xu Wenyu, the legitimate daughter of the Minister of Revenue. She tormented me at every turn. Xiao Jibai had merely remarked with cool indifference, "She is the mistress, you are a servant. It is only right that she disciplines you." In the end, while he was away from the manor, Xu Wenyu beat me to death with her own hands. Given a second chance at life, I found myself once more on the day the eldest young master came to claim me. After all, as a concubine you may be counted as half a mistress. From now on you will no longer have to wait upon others. Are you willing to come with me? I lifted my head. I thank the eldest young master for his kindness. I am willing. When I returned to Zhuoying residence, I happened to cross paths with Cui Zhao, the head maidservant who served Xiao Jibai. She switched her gaze over me from head to toe, and could not suppress a mocking laugh. Well, if it isn't Xiao Man. Weren't you just quarreling with the second young master? Why have you slunk back looking so miserable? Ah, I forgot. You're only a maidservant. Where else could you possibly go? Seeing that I remained silent, she pressed on deliberately. A few days ago I met the young lady who is now engaged to the second young master. She truly lives up to her reputation as the daughter of the Minister of Revenue. Not only is she the most celebrated talented lady in the capital, she is beautiful enough to have stepped out of a painting. Standing beside the second young master they make the perfect pair. She smiled, lips pressed together. Xiaoman, what do you possibly have that could compare with her? When the young master speaks of music, chess, calligraphy and painting, what can you answer? How to sweep the courtyard? Or how to ply a needle? If I were the young master I would marry that young lady as well. If you still have any sense left, soften your tone toward him at once. Otherwise be careful. You may not even remain his maidservant much longer. I smiled faintly, said nothing, and turned back to my room to begin packing. I had already agreed to become the eldest young master's concubine. From this day forward I would no longer waste breath arguing with Cui Zhao. In a few days, when the eldest young master returned, I would move into his courtyard. While folding the bedding, a sachet slipped from the bed and fell to the floor. I picked it up, a sudden wave of disquiet washing over me as memories of my past life surged back. Many things had already grown hazy, yet I still remembered the joy that had lit Xiao Jibai's face the day he received this sachet. He had even felt sorry for my hands. Leave such tasks to the servants from now on. Why trouble yourself? At the time I could not help laughing. Young master, I am a servant. He had frowned, refusing to let me say it. In my eyes you will never be a servant. He had taken my hand with solemn gravity. Xiaoman, I will marry you one day. I had shaken my head. You are the young master of the Marquis Manor. I am only a maidservant. How could you possibly marry me? Xiao Jibai had drawn me into his arms. What young master? A secondary son. You are a maidservant. We were born a perfect match. I laughed softly. What kind of logic is that? Back then our feelings had still been warm and genuine. Just as he said, his mother Liu Dinyang was merely an insignificant concubine among the many in the manor utterly overlooked. The Marquis of Jingshun was a romantic, talented man blessed with numerous children. Even Xiao Jibai received little regard because of it. Servants fawned upon the powerful and trampled the weak. None wished to serve in his courtyard and sought every opportunity to transfer elsewhere. Only I remained steadfast, refusing to leave. In winter, when the steward claimed there was not enough charcoal, I had used my own meager savings to buy fuel so he would not suffer the cold. Fortunately, Xiao Jibai was brilliant. He passed the examinations as Tanhua, entered the Hanlin Academy, and secured an official post. Only then did the Marquis remember he possessed such a son and finally began to value him. We were permitted to leave that cramped little courtyard. But by then Xiao Jibai had reached marriageable age, and the manor began arranging a match for him. Upon learning the news, I quarreled violently with him. It was during that very period, by pure chance, that I encountered the eldest young master. He had taken a certain interest in me and asked whether I would consent to become his concubine. When Xiao Jibai heard, his face changed instantly. He returned in the middle of the night to find me. Xiaoman, you cannot become my elder brother's concubine. His eyes held a trace of pleading. Xiaoman, a concubine is nothing more than a plaything. In the future anyone could sell you off. I do not want you to suffer the same fate as my mother. Wait for me. I will not marry anyone else. Once my position improves and I no longer need to watch every face in this manner, I will marry you. I refused the old maid the eldest young master had sent. I thanked the eldest young master for his favor, yet I still wished to remain at the second young master's side. The old maid had spoken earnestly. Xiaoman, even an unfavored concubine is still a mistress. A maidservant, no matter how favored, remains a servant. The second young master likes you now, but what of later? What happens after he takes a wife? Think carefully. Opportunities like this do not come twice. I nodded. I had already decided. I trusted Xiao Jibai. He would never betray me. Xiao Jibai grew busier with each passing day and returned home less often, yet I continued to believe in our bond and never questioned it. Until one afternoon, while humming softly and strolling through the garden, I overheard several little maidservants whispering excitedly. What's happened? I asked, drifting closer out of curiosity. Xiaoman hasn't heard? Baiji, one of the younger maids, said with bright eyes. The young master is about to become engaged to the daughter of the Minister of Revenue. They say she's a person of great consequence. Baiji continued eagerly. Xiaoman, you're closest to the young master. Have you met that young lady? Everyone says she's the most talented lady in the capital. Perhaps the sunlight was too harsh. A sudden dizziness swept over me. I no longer remembered what I said afterward, only that I walked away beneath the astonished stares of the little maids. Upon returning, I found Xiao Jibai in the study, frowning as he wrote. I asked in a hoarse voice, Are you truly about to marry the daughter of the Minister of Revenue? He did not even lift his head. So you've heard as well? I stood frozen in place for a long while. Only then did he notice my silence and raise his eyes. What is it? I asked softly. Why her? If not her, should I marry you instead? He rubbed his temples wearily. Xiaoman, stop making trouble. I am already exhausted. The words burst from me before I could stop them. But you once promised you would marry me. Have you forgotten? Xiao Jibai sighed. Not yet. Xiaoman, I have no allies at court. Lord Xu Wenyu's is the Minister of Revenue. I must marry her. Just wait a little longer. I stared at him, lips parting, yet no sound emerged. Xu Wenyu entered the manor soon after. From the very first glance she disliked me. She addressed Xiao Jibai by his courtesy name. Muj. This maidservant was born with the seductive air of a fox spirit. She does not look like someone who knows her place. We should drive her out at once. Xiao Jibai's brows drew together almost imperceptibly, yet his expression remained carefully neutral. This maid has followed me since childhood. Though she appears clever, she is actually rather foolish. Besides, she has no family left. If we cast her out, she will not survive. Let her stay. Xu Wenyu was displeased. From that day forward, her torment of me only intensified. First she ordered me removed from the Bisha cabinet in Xiao Jibai's chambers and demoted to a laundry maid. Every garment in the manor, from the master's robes to the servant's clothing, became my sole responsibility. In the depths of winter, she forbade me the use of hot water. My hands bloomed with frostbite blisters that split open beneath the harsh lye. Soon they were almost unrecognizable. When Xiao Jibai learned of it, he merely handed me a bottle of ointment and sighed, Endure a little longer, Xiaoman. Later Xu Wenyu discovered the sachet I had once given Xiao Jibai and erupted in fury. She ordered me slapped viciously across the face, then smiled coldly. Since you enjoy making sachets so much, make 500 of them. I shall distribute them as gifts to others. 500 sachets were no small task, especially with my ruined hands. I could no longer manage fine needlework. I had barely begun to protest when Xu Wenyu accused me of insolence to Xiao Jibai. In the middle of a torrential downpour, she forced me to kneel upon the jagged gravel courtyard. Cold and pain overwhelmed me. I soon lost consciousness. When I awoke, Xiao Jibai sat beside me, gently applying medicine to my knees. The sight of my injuries drew a pained breath from him. She has always been that way. Just bear with her a little longer. Once she forgets, everything will be fine. This time I could no longer hold my tongue. Haven't I endured enough? Xiao Jibai frowned. Wait a little longer. First avoid her. Once I secure a position in the cabinet, I will no longer have to watch Xu's face. I cut him off. Every time you tell me to wait, how much longer must I wait? Then what would you have me do? Xiao Jibai's voice rose as well. Do you wish me to turn against her? To turn against the entire Xu family? Tears slid down my cheeks. I have done nothing wrong. Why must I always be the one to endure? Simply because she is the mistress and I am a servant? His words thundered through the study. I stood there stunned. So did he. Candlelight flickered across his face, turning it alternately pale and ashen. I watched his throat work. Words caught behind his teeth, yet nothing emerged. Suddenly I lifted my head. Xiao Jibai, will you divorce Xu Wenyu? He remained silent. I already have my answer. A faint smile touched my lips. Then why did you once say you would marry me? Why plant that hope in my heart and force me to wait forever? Xiao Jibai tilted his head slightly. It was only childish talk spoken without thought. Xiaoman, we cannot remain children forever. I nodded and closed my eyes. I understand. You may leave. Xiao Jibai had misjudged Xu Wenyu. Far from forgetting, she grew more vicious. One day I ate something spoiled and began vomiting. She discovered it and flew into a rage, convinced I had climbed into Xiao Jibai's bed and become pregnant. I begged and explained, offering to summon a physician. She struck me across the mouth with brutal force. She laughed coldly. Is a mere maidservant worthy of summoning a physician? If the child is not Jibai's, then it is some bastard from who knows where. Her gaze settled on me icy. Someone drag her out and beat her until she confesses the truth. At first I still possessed the strength to scream. Later the pain became so great I lost all feeling. As darkness closed in, she finally stopped, pinching her nose in disgust. Is she dead yet? Throw her out at once. Do not foul my courtyard. Wrapped in a straw mat, I was carried toward the mass grave. Before my final thread of consciousness snapped, I heard one of the bearers click his tongue. What a pity. I heard the eldest young master once wished to take her as a concubine. Had she followed him then, she would not have died so wretchedly. Another voice answered. Foolish girl. She could have become a mistress yet insisted on remaining a servant. Now look at her. A single tear traced my cheek as I closed my eyes. I never imagined I would live again. Now, Xu Wenyu and Xiao Jibai had yet to become engaged. Xiao Jibai had been absent from the manor for several days on some unknown errand. For the first time in a long while, I enjoyed a rare stretch of peace. Chun Tao, the maidservant closest to me, had been the only one I told about my impending role as concubine. She came specially to offer congratulations. Xiaoman, you truly possess great fortune. From now on you will be a mistress. She smiled and performed a playful bow. Please accept my respects, Chen Dinyang. We laughed and teased each other for a while before she suddenly asked, by the way, does the second young master know you are leaving? I hesitated. Lately Xiao Jibai had not been in the manor, so I had not yet informed him, but the eldest young master had already spoken with Liu Dinyang. Chun Tao's eyes widened. The eldest young master suddenly wishes to take you as a concubine? Did you know him before? I shook my head, then nodded. My first meeting with the eldest young master had been rather absurd. Back then, Xiao Jibai's position in the manor remained precarious. Servants ignored him entirely. As he grew older, he often went hungry at night, so I began slipping into the small kitchen to steal food for him. One evening, while reaching for pastries, I turned and found someone standing in the doorway. Terror froze me in place. I could not decide whether to flee or beg forgiveness. The figure remained motionless. The room was dim. He made no move to punish me. I assumed he must be a servant from another courtyard also come to steal. Are you here to steal food as well? I asked, stepping forward to draw him inside. Come this way, be careful not to be discovered. I even instructed him. On the 1st and 15th of each month the kitchen prepares snacks for the masters. There are always leftovers. No one will notice if a little goes missing. Here, these are the pastries I just took. Try one. Night had fallen too deeply for me to see his face clearly. He paused briefly, then truly accepted a piece from my plate. I arched a brow. Since you've eaten my pastries, you cannot report me. We are grasshoppers tied to the same string now. A low chuckle escaped him. Very well. I blinked, surprised. Your voice is rather pleasant. Which courtyard do you serve? I have never seen you before. He hesitated again. I serve in the eldest young master's courtyard. And you? I answered without suspicion. I belong to the second young master's courtyard. I could not help defending him. So the eldest young master treats his own servants differently. He does not even feed them properly. I once heard he was kind and benevolent. It seems that was all a lie. Man choked on his words. It is not entirely so. I was simply born with a hearty appetite. Ah, so that is it. I laughed. The second young master is waiting for me. I must go. Farewell. I fled. Several days later I returned and encountered him once more. After that, our meetings became frequent. Nearly every time I visited the kitchen I found him there. Gradually we grew familiar. I learned his name was Kui Han. Kui Han proved kind. More than once when I arrived late he saved a portion of food especially for me. Does the second young master often go hungry? He asked. I sighed. He is not favored. The servants treat him poorly. Sometimes the food arrives spoiled and inedible. If not for that I would not need to steal. If life is so difficult, why not seek service in another courtyard? I rested my chin upon my hand. I cannot bear to leave. If even I go, he will have no one left. Kui Han smiled. You possess true loyalty. The very next day, the principal wife punished an entire group of servants. Even the steward was implicated for fawning on the powerful, oppressing the weak, and daring to delay the masters. Xiao Jibai's circumstances improved overnight. No one dared skim his rations again. He could eat his fill. I no longer needed to steal food. Yet after some thought, I still returned to the small kitchen and once again Kwehan. Seeing my joyful expression, he asked with a smile, "What has made you so happy?" I told him excitedly, "The principal wife punished those hateful servants. The second young master's share will no longer be cut. I need not come here anymore. So today?" I drew a braided cord from my bosom. "I came to thank you. This is for you." Kwehan stared. "You made this yourself?" Thank you for everything. I will not return. Take care of yourself." Under the moonlight, he accepted the cord with solemn care, his gaze lingering upon me for a long moment. You take care as well." Later, when I went to collect my reward at the old madam's birthday banquet, a familiar voice drifted down from above. I looked up and met a pair of smiling eyes. My mind went blank. I thought I must be mistaken. Only when I noticed the braided cord at his waist, the very one I had made, did realization strike. I lowered my head in panic. How could Kwehan be the eldest young master? Xiaolanqi was the true noble son of the manor. His mother was the only daughter of the great general who guards the north. His father, the Marquis of Jingshun, was the younger brother of the Empress Dowager. At 18, he had topped every round of the imperial examinations, a genuine prodigy. His Majesty held him in high esteem. At a young age, he already served as third-rank Shaoqing of the Court of Judicial Review. Yet official duties kept him constantly away from the capital, so I had never laid eyes upon him. What to do? What to do? I had stolen pastries before the master himself and even spoken ill of him. The best I could hope for was expulsion. Yet the eldest young master did not punish me. He merely said with calm indifference, "Everyone has worked hard of late. Batao, distribute 2 taels of silver to each person from my private funds." I stood speechless. 2 taels of silver, the largest reward I had ever received in my life. Both anxious and delighted, I convinced myself the eldest young master had long forgotten me. Not long afterward, he sent someone to inquire whether I would consent to become his concubine. I lowered my gaze. The eldest young master was a good man, a true gentleman. For years his chambers had contained not even a single bed-warming maid. Life at his side would not be difficult. As for passionate love and devotion, such things were never meant for people like me. Simply escaping the fate of my previous life by becoming a concubine was already heaven's greatest mercy. Although taking a concubine was not the same as marrying a principal wife, a simple ceremony was still required. The eldest young master had not yet returned, so I could not move into his courtyard immediately. I kept the news tightly secret. Few people knew I was leaving. Therefore, when Xiaojibai came back, he remained unaware. The moment he stepped inside the manor, he came looking for me. One glance at the sachet upon my small bed, and his expression shifted. "Is this made for me?" He picked it up, a faint smile touching his eyes. Then he noticed my hands and frowned. "Leave such work to the servants." This time I did not argue. I answered calmly, "You. In the last life it was. In this life it is not. Are you still angry with me?" Xiaojibai sighed helplessly and produced a pair of clay figurines from his robe. "I truly cannot manage you. I bought these especially. Do not be angry anymore." I stared at the little figures, one male, one female. In my previous life, whenever we quarreled, Xiaojibai would bring trinkets to coax me. I had treasured them beyond measure. Only later did I learn that the gifts he gave Xu Wenyu were gold, silver, jewels, and the finest silks. He claimed to like me, yet he clearly treated people according to their station. I was a maidservant, therefore I deserved only cheap clay. I refused the gift. Xiaojibai pressed it into my arms. During our brief struggle, the figurines fell and shattered upon the floor. Xiaojibai's face darkened at once. "I searched a long time for these. Xiaoman, how much longer will you continue this?" I raised my head. "I heard you are about to marry." By the timeline of my previous life, his engagement to Xunyu was imminent. Panic flashed across Xiaojibai's face. "How did you know?" I said nothing. "So that is why you are angry." He sighed. "Wenyu's father is the Minister of Revenue. Grandmother herself arranged the match. I cannot refuse." He reached for my hand. "But I marry her only to obey my parents' wishes." "Xiaoman, you know you are the only one I care for. Wait for me a little longer." I could not help laughing. "Wait for what?" "Wait until you marry her, then divorce her and take me instead." Xiaojibai choked. At last his patience snapped. "Then what would you have me do?" "Xiaoman, if I do not marry her, should I marry you? I am only a maidservant. Naturally, I am unworthy of the second young master. You and Miss Xu are a match made in heaven. I wish you both 100 years of happiness." I smiled. "Congratulations, young master. I offer my sincere felicitations. We each have bright futures ahead. Each of us obtains what we desire. Why should that not be cause for joy?" For some reason, my words only enraged him further. He spoke coldly. "I have truly indulged you too much. That is why you have become so lawless. Since you refuse to stay by my side, I might as well drive you out so you can become someone else's principal wife. From now on you need not serve in my courtyard any longer." With a flick of his sleeve he strode out, slamming the door behind him. I understood Xiaojibai's nature. He knew I had nowhere else to go. This was merely a threat meant to force me to bow first. It had been the same in my previous life. Alone and without family, I had possessed no choice but to remain at his side and endure torment for the rest of my days. This time would be different. Xiaojibai began to sulk. He slept elsewhere every night. Even when he occasionally returned, he pretended I did not exist. Few people knew I was soon to become a concubine. Seeing that I had fallen out of favor with Xiaojibai, the servants seized the opportunity to kick me while I was down. The food I received was spoiled and rotten. Maidservants who had long envied the special treatment I once received now ostracized me openly. Someone even poured water on my bed and assigned me the task of emptying chamber pots. Chen Tao was indignant on my behalf. "These despicable people, if they knew you were about to become the eldest young master's concubine, they would not dare treat you this way. Why not tell them?" I shook my head. "Forget it. The eldest young master has not yet returned. If word leaks and Xiaojibai learns of it, who knows what trouble may arise. Simply endure a little longer." At last the eldest young master returned. A group of old maids arrived to help me pack and change into new garments. For the first time in my life I wore a wedding robe of fine silk, a heavy gown of soft pink embroidered with patterns that shimmered like flowing light, the color reminiscent of sunset, burning across layers of mother-of-pearl clouds. Beneath the lamplight, the silk rippled with a gentle, lustrous sheen, neither the solemn crimson reserved for a principal wife, nor the plain, sorrowful white of mourning. It possessed instead a noble, tender elegance that reached the very soul. Yet when I opened my meager makeup box, I found only 2 plain silver hairpins, the same ones Xiaojibai had given me years ago. I still remembered the joy I had felt upon receiving them, how I had treasured them and hidden them away for so many years. Standing before this magnificent silk robe, however, they looked dull and insignificant. I possessed not a single piece of jewelry worthy of the occasion. Just as despair threatened to overwhelm me, a maidservant entered smiling and placed a lacquered box upon the table. "Chen Diniang, the eldest young master sent this for you." Inside lay a set of exquisite pearl ornaments. Though modest in size, each pearl was perfectly round and lustrous, reflecting a soft pink glow that matched the wedding robe, exactly delicate, appropriate, and clearly chosen with care. My heart stirred. The eldest young master had even thought of this. Attended by maidservants, I donned the jewelry and studied my reflection. One of them sighed in admiration. "Chen Diniang is truly born with heavenly beauty. I have never seen anyone more lovely." The face in the mirror felt unfamiliar. I had never before seen myself dressed as a bride. It felt like a dream. I sat inside a small green sedan. First we passed through the main gate, then entered the eldest young master's courtyard through the side entrance. Just as we reached the gate and I prepared to alight, a familiar voice rang out. What a lively scene. "Elder brother, is there some happy occasion today?" My fingers tightened around the handkerchief in my lap. "Xiaojibai? He has returned at this exact moment." The old maid smiled placatingly. "Second young master, the eldest young master is taking a concubine today." "Taking a concubine?" Surprise colored Xiaojibai's tone. "Elder brother wishes to take a concubine? Which fairy has moved even him to worldly desire? What sort of person is she?" "She is a maidservant," the old maid answered. "A maidservant?" Xiaojibai paused. "Which one? From which courtyard?" My throat tightened. The old maid chuckled. "Oh my, second young master, you are far too busy to remember every maidservant in the manor. Her name is Chen Wantong." Oh, interest faded from his voice. Chen Wantong had been my name before I was sold into the Marquis Manor. Years had passed since anyone spoke it. Xiaojibai did not recognize it. Footsteps receded. I exhaled in relief. Suddenly the sedan bearers stumbled. The chair lurched violently. My head struck the side and a soft cry escaped me. Xiaojibai's footsteps halted. He turned. "That maidservant's voice sounds familiar. Have her come down, I wish to see her." My heart slammed against my ribs. Xiaojibai knew my voice better than anyone. He had already grown suspicious. The old maid forced a smile. "Do not delay the auspicious hour. The eldest young master awaits. Please come down." My nails bit into my palms. I did not know what to do. Then a calm voice spoke. "What is the meaning of this commotion?" Xiaolanqi had arrived. "Elder brother." Xiaojibai immediately reined in his aggression. "The hour has come. I merely wish to look." Xiaolanqi's tone remained indifferent. "Wantang belongs to me. Show her proper respect." Xiaojibai fell silent. After a long moment he finally said, "It was my offense. Proceed. Be careful." Xiaolanqi turned. The sedan was at last carried inside the courtyard. The bridal chamber had been prepared in the eastern wing of Zhuoying residence. Red candles burned brightly. Double happiness characters adorned the windows, not the deep crimson of a principal wife, but a gentle peach pink. Every detail had been arranged with sufficient dignity while still observing proper boundaries. I sat upon the edge of the bed, fingers twisting the sleeves of my wedding robe. Footsteps approached. The door opened, then closed. Xiaolanqi stood before me. I kept my head lowered, seeing only the cloud patterns embroidered upon the toes of his boots. After a long silence, he spoke. Did the earlier incident frighten you? I shook my head, then nodded. I do not know why you wish to keep this from Jibai, but sooner or later he will learn the truth. Still, you need not fear, I will protect you. I lifted my gaze. Beneath the candlelight, his brows and eyes appeared gentler than usual. He truly possessed a refined, handsome countenance, bright eyes, clear brows. It was said that when he sat for the imperial examinations, His Majesty had been so struck by his appearance that he initially intended to name him Tanhua. Only the unparalleled excellence of his answers prevented any lowering of rank. In the end, he was crowned Zhuangyuan. Today he too wore wedding attire, a robe embroidered with dark gold motifs. Yet at his waist hung the old braided cord I had given him in the small kitchen long ago. I stared, stunned. After all this time he had kept it? Xiaolanqi followed my gaze, glanced down, then quietly tucked the cord behind him. Wantang. He did not call me Xiaoman. I had never liked that name. It was a casual label Xiao Jibai had bestowed upon me after I became a maidservant, hardly flattering. If you regret this now, I do not regret it, I blurted. Eldest Master, why do you wish to take me as a concubine? In my previous life, shortly after Xiao Jibai's grand wedding, Xiaolanqi had departed the capital. Until the day I died, rumor held that he remained unmarried. Many strange stories circulated, that he preferred the company of men, or that he had grown weary of the mortal world. A man like him, why would he suddenly choose me? Xiaolanqi regarded me for a long moment, then raised his hand and gently straightened the slightly crooked pearl hairpin in my hair. Of course it is because I like you. From now on simply call me husband. Or Kui Han. That is my courtesy name. I had expected some other explanations. I never imagined he would say something so direct. Heat flooded my cheeks. I felt both flustered and strangely delighted. Someone like him actually likes me? In my previous life, Xiao Jibai had never spoken such words. The phrase he repeated most often was simply "stay by my side." Xiaolanqi stepped back half a pace, lifted 2 cups of wine from the table and offered one to me. I accepted it. My fingers trembled, the wine rippled. As our arms crossed, his sleeve brushed my wrist, carrying the faint elusive scent of pine. We drank together. The wine burned fiercely. I coughed softly. Candlelight crackled. Xiaolanqi took my hand and led me toward the soft bed. I knew perfectly well what would happen next, yet my heart pounded so violently my palms grew damp. It was said the eldest young master had never even kept a bed-warming maid. Though he was a prodigy in every other regard, did he truly understand this? Do not be afraid. A faint smile curved his lips. The tips of his ears turned pink. I have studied the matter specially. I will not cause you pain. Moonlight spilled through the paper-covered windows, silvering the floor. Red candles burned through half the night, wax accumulating in small mountains. By the time water was requested for the 3rd time, only one thought remained in my mind. A true prodigy learns everything well. I did not know that at this very moment Xiao Jibai was searching for me. Where is Xiaoman? He demanded of Chen Tao with a frown. Chen Tao answered respectfully. Young Master, Chen Diniang has already entered the eldest young master's courtyard. I am not asking about any Chen Diniang. I am asking about Xiaoman. He froze, his expression darkened instantly. Today elder brother is taking Xiaoman as a concubine? Yes. For a heartbeat his face went blank. Then fury erupted. Why was I not informed? The person in my own courtyard has been taken by elder brother without a single word. When did this happen? He turned toward the door. I do not agree. I am going to demand her back. Stand still. Liu Dinyang entered, brows drawn together in disapproval. The matter had already been reported to me by the eldest young master, and I gave my consent. Xiao Jibai's face darkened. Why did you agree? You clearly know Xiaoman. What exactly do you know? Liu Dinyang's expression turned displeased. It was not easy for you to secure this marriage alliance with the legitimate daughter of the Minister of Revenue's household. What if Miss Xu learns of your entanglement with Xiaoman and changes her mind about the engagement? There is nothing between Xiaoman and me, Xiao Jibai retorted. Do you think I am unaware? Liu Dinyang said. Did you plan to marry Miss Xu first and then take Xiaoman as a concubine? But Xiaoman would never agree. She would not leave my side. It must be elder brother who forced her. She consented of her own free will. Liu Dinyang frowned. No matter what, Xiaoman has served in your courtyard for many years. If she truly did not wish it, how could I possibly force her? Xiao Jibai stared at her in disbelief. Liu Dinyang stepped closer and lowered her voice. Jibai, this arrangement is good for both you and Xiaomen. She is only a maidservant. Later I will select a few more for you. Life in Xiaolanqi's courtyard is far better than I imagined. The old madam and madam both devote themselves to chanting sutras and cultivating virtue every day. I go to pay my respects twice, and afterward they tell me there is no need to come again. Moreover, although she is a concubine, Xiaolanqi has never taken a principal wife, nor does he have any other concubines. In that courtyard she is the highest ranking. No one can order her about. I had thought I would feel heartache, that I would hate Xiao Jibai and Xu Wenyu. Yet every day I ate and drank my fill, played and enjoyed myself, and gradually found I no longer thought of them at all. One day I was in the garden with the little maidservants, picking peach blossoms to bring back and arrange in vases, when a low, familiar voice sounded behind me. Xiaomen. I turned. Xiao Jibai stood not far away, his gaze complex filled with heartache, confusion and even a trace of hatred born from betrayal. The smile on my face slowly faded. Second young master. A mocking curve touched the corner of Xiao Jibai's lips. I had thought my elder brother forced you to become his concubine. I never expected you to agree willingly. His eyes swept over the fine silks and brocades I wore. It seems you are living quite well. I nodded honestly. Indeed, I am living very well. Xiao Jibai's lips tightened, his dark eyes fixed on me. I told you to wait for me. Why would you not wait? If you wanted silk and jewelry, why did you not say so? If my elder brother can give them to you, can I not? By the end his eyes had even reddened slightly. I laughed. What exactly did you want me to wait for, young master? You were about to marry. Did you expect me to wait until after you wed Miss Xu, then divorce her so you could marry me? Or wait until she entered the manor and you took me as a concubine? If I must be a concubine either way, is it not better to be the eldest young master's concubine? Disappointment flooded Xiao Jibai's face. I always thought you were different from others. I never imagined you were also the sort who craves wealth and glory. Say whatever you like, I replied. Young master, I no longer wish to be a servant, ordered about at everyone's whim. I had no intention of telling him about my previous life. Even if I did, he would never believe it. Let him think I was merely someone who fawned upon power and status. At least then he would stop entangling himself with me. Veins bulged on Xiao Jibai's clenched fists. Suddenly he seized my wrist and yanked me toward him. You are my person, I have not agreed to let you go. Come with me to see my elder brother, I will speak to him myself. No need for you to go, a calm voice said. I am already here. Come here, Wantong. Xiaolanqi approached and extended his hand toward me. I immediately shook off Xiao Jibai's grip and hurried behind Xiaolanqi. Xiao Jibai's face turned ashen. Elder brother, Xiaoman is my maidservant. Why are you stealing her? The matter of taking a concubine, I have already asked Wantong and Liu Dinyang. It was Liu Dinyang who handed me Wantong's indenture contract. He looked bewildered. Wantong was nothing more than a maidservant to you, yet to me she is the woman I love. Why must you insist on taking her? If you lack maidservants, I can compensate you with 10, even 100. She is different to you. Different in what way? Xiaolanqi asked. I like her. If you had not stolen her, I would have married her. Xiaolanqi laughed, a flash of contempt in his eyes. Marry her? Wantang has been in your courtyard for over 10 years, yet I have never seen you marry her. Besides, have you not already become engaged to the Minister of Revenue's daughter? How exactly were you planning to marry Wantong, as a principal wife or as a concubine? Does Miss Xu know about this? Xiao Jibai opened his mouth, but no further words came out. Xiaolanqi took my hand. Wantong has a kind heart. I believe that if you had truly treated her well, she would never have come to me. Second brother, if you cannot accomplish something, do not make promises lightly. He led me away, but after a few steps he paused and turned back. One more thing, her name is Chen Wantong, not Xiaomen. From now on, show her proper respect. Xiaolanqi's courtyard was called Huanfeng Courtyard. The name was elegant, and the residence itself was tranquil and serene. He never inquired about my past with Xiao Jibai. Every day after court he would return, no matter how late, and dine with me, always bringing gifts. Sometimes it was a packet of osmanthus cakes from the southern part of the city, sometimes a branch of red plum blossoms casually plucked from the yamen, sometimes a bracelet of vivid green jade or several bolts of brightly colored silk, expensive or inexpensive, but never a day without one. At first I felt somewhat reserved, but gradually I grew accustomed to it, my courage growing along with my comfort. One day he was reading in the study while I sat in the outer room shelling melon seeds. After a while I suddenly remembered something and poked my head in. Young master, when exactly did you say you began to like me? Xiao Lanqi's hand paused on the page. My face flushed. I lowered my voice and said softly, "Husband." Only then did he set the book down and think seriously. "It was probably when you fed me pastries in the small kitchen. Those pastries were very delicious." I blinked. "Those were stolen pastries. I did not make them." "I know." The corner of his mouth curved upward. "But the way you ate them was quite amusing." I was not satisfied. "Eating paste kind of reason is that? I am not a mouse." Seeing my stunned expression, Xiao Lanqi asked, "And you? When did you begin to like me?" My ears burned. I lowered my head and continued shelling seeds. "Who said I like you?" Yet my face had turned completely red. He chuckled, picked up the book again, and spoke in a casual tone. "Then who was it last night who told me to come back?" Xiao Lanqi. I grabbed a handful of melon seeds and shoved them into his mouth. He chewed calmly, his expression unchanged. "Not as sweet as pastries." Xiao Lanqi even handed over the entire management of the courtyard to me. I had no idea where he obtained so many shops, fields and silver. My tongue tied itself in knots and my voice trembled. "So much money. I am afraid I will not manage it well." This time, he did not coax me. He simply said, "If you do not manage it well, then learn. Sooner or later, you will have to manage it anyway." I lowered my head. After a long while I said, "When you marry a principal wife in the future, of course the madam will manage everything. What would it look like for a mere concubine like me to oversee these matters?" Xiao Lanqi merely reached out and rubbed my head. "There will be no principal wife, nor will any madam manage the accounts." With nothing to do all day, I began visiting Xiao Lanqi's room to read. After searching through many volumes, I found none interesting, until I came across several medical texts that captured my attention. My mother had died early. My father had been a physician. From childhood, I had followed him everywhere treating patients. Later he went into the mountains to gather herbs and fell into a ravine. With no remaining family, I was sold into the Marquis Manor by human traffickers. I still remembered how my father had taught me to recognize countless medicinal herbs. I had taught myself for a time, so absorbed that I would forget dinner, reading while I ate. Xiao Lanqi frowned and took the book from my hands. "If you are studying medicine, do you not know you must eat properly?" Whenever someone in the manor fell ill and the imperial physician came, I would go to seek advice. Xiao Lanqi stood beside me. "Imperial physician Shen, my wife has been reading medical texts to the point of forgetting to eat or sleep. She wishes to study medicine. Might I trouble you to offer her some guidance?" Imperial physician Shen replied respectfully. "Lord Xiao is too kind." He then asked me several questions about medicinal ingredients and corresponding prescriptions for various ailments, stroked his beard and said, "The madam is truly gifted. To remember so many prescriptions is remarkable. However, practicing medicine requires more than reading books alone. One of my disciples runs a pharmacy on the street ahead. If the madam has any questions, she may consult him." I grew even more enthusiastic. Every day I studied all manner of prescriptions. Whenever I was uncertain, I would shamelessly go ask Imperial Physician Shen's disciple, then use Xiao Lanqi to practice my skills. After taking his pulse for a while, I suddenly fell silent. Seeing that I said nothing, Xiao Lanqi raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" I examined his pulse image, deep, slow and weak, accompanied by a faint, thin and feeble thread. It looked like kidney deficiency. I glanced at him and fought to keep the corner of my mouth from lifting. "It appears to be kidney deficiency." Xiao Lanqi stared at me in silence. My heart skipped a beat. Had I gone too far with this teasing? Such jokes might be excessive toward a man, especially when he was the master and I was merely a concubine, more bluntly, a servant. I was about to apologize when he suddenly laughed. "It seems you have been busy studying medicine lately and have neglected intimacy. Perhaps I really am suffering from kidney deficiency. Why not have the madam treat me personally?" Before I could react, he stepped forward, swept me into his arms, and carried me toward the bed. The bed curtains fell. "Wait, this seems to be my mistaken diagnosis." My startled cry was muffled as he pressed me down. "It is fine. Later you may examine me again and correct the diagnosis. I am certain you will not make the same mistake twice." The first summer rain arrived. Suddenly Xiao Lanqi was dispatched by His Majesty to investigate a corruption case in Mobe. For some reason I felt deeply uneasy, so I insisted on accompanying him. Unable to dissuade me, he brought me along. Our luck, however, was truly terrible. On the road we encountered a flash flood. While saving me, Xiao Lanqi fell into the river with me. We were swept downstream to a remote village by the riverbank, battered and bruised, yet miraculously still alive. The road out of the village was blocked by mud and rocks from the flood. We could not leave for the time being. With almost no money left, we used the last of my silver to rent a thatched cottage in the village, and stayed there temporarily. Without any servants to attend us, we had to do everything ourselves. While I cooked, Xiaolanqi conscientiously gathered firewood and lit the fire. He had clearly never done such a thing before. His movements were clumsy and flustered, and the smoke made him cough non-stop. I looked up and saw, for the first time, a bewildered expression on his face. Something felt wrong. My gaze fell on the soot smudged across his cheek, and the heavy weight that had long sat in my chest suddenly lightened. I could not help bursting into laughter. He stared at me blankly for a moment before realizing what had happened. He wiped his face, looked at his hand, and laughed as well. The rice is brown rice, the pot is cracked, the firewood is wet. We have been busy for half a day, eyes streaming with tears from the smoke, and the rice is still burnt. There was no table in the house. We both sat on the doorstep, bowls of burnt rice in hand, and ate. From the corner of my eye I saw Xiaolanqi's brows furrow slightly, yet he maintained a calm expression and finished the entire bowl. That evening after the flood, the clouds on the horizon burned red like fire. I suddenly asked, "Do you think we can return?" He took my hand. "We can. I will definitely bring you back." We lived on in the village, just the two of us. There were no more distinctions of master and concubine, only two people who had to work. Surprisingly, Xiaolanqi adapted quite well. He did everything himself and never once complained of hardship or fatigue. For a time we truly resembled an ordinary husband and wife in a rural village. Xiaolanqi learned how to light the fire. In the evenings he would heat water for me to soak my feet. During the day he taught the village children to read and write to earn a little money. I did sewing and mending for whatever work I could find. Summer brought swarms of mosquitoes that made sleep impossible. Dark circles appeared beneath my eyes. Somehow Xiaolanqi obtained a bundle of mugwort and placed it in the house. Sure enough, the mosquitoes disappeared. On summer nights, moonlight flowed like water across the ground outside the cottage. The chirping of unknown insects mingled with the rustle of wind through leaves, lulling one to drowsiness. I leaned against Xiaolanqi's chest, enjoying the cool breeze. He suddenly spoke. "I suddenly feel this is also quite good. Very good." I opened my eyes drowsily. "Before you were the eldest young master with countless servants. Now you must do everything yourself and live in this broken-down cottage. What is so good about it? In this life I have always strived to do everything to the best of my ability," he said softly, as though afraid of disturbing the night in this mountain village. "Only these days have I truly felt that doing nothing at all is also quite good." He fanned me gently with a rush fan. "It is good here to be an ordinary husband and wife. You cook, I chop firewood. Burnt rice is fine. Salty food is fine, everything is good." I fell silent. Yes, of course it is good like this. But how long can days like these last? After all, we were not truly husband and wife. Sooner or later he would return to being the noble eldest young master, inheriting the Marquis manor and marrying a well-matched principal wife. These days that belonged only to the two of us would ultimately be like flowers in a mirror or the moon in water. Once the road was repaired we would still have to return. I spoke softly. He said nothing for a long while. Then he said quietly, "Sleep." He drew me into his arms. I pillowed my head on his shoulder and closed my eyes. I never expected an epidemic to break out. After the flood receded, it left behind too many corpses. In the sweltering summer heat, with bodies improperly handled, the plague spread rapidly through the city. Soon it appeared in the village as well. Just as the road had been cleared and we were preparing to leave, Xiaolanqi contracted the disease and fell gravely ill. The epidemic was ferocious. Xiaolanqi quickly became bedridden, running a high fever and slipping in and out of unconsciousness. He refused to let me stay by his side, terrified of infecting me. But how could I possibly abandon him now? I gritted my teeth, wrapped a thick cloth tightly over my mouth and nose, changed cold compresses on his forehead, and wiped his body, yet nothing helped. His entire body remained burning hot. He ate and drank nothing, rapidly wasting away. Many others in the village had also fallen ill. Every day people died, and before white mourning cloth could even be hung, heartbroken wails echoed everywhere. Fortunately, whether because my constitution was strong or by sheer luck, I never contracted the disease. I searched everywhere for remedies, poring over medical texts late into the night, nearly forgetting to eat or sleep. But this epidemic was not easily cured. No matter how red my eyes became from studying or how many prescriptions I tried, nothing worked. One day I administered a new medicine to Xiaolanqi. After drinking it, he actually improved slightly. He even regained some appetite and could sit up for a while. I was overjoyed, thinking the prescription had taken effect. But when I took his pulse again, I discovered it was beating irregularly, clearly the sign of someone on the verge of death. I lowered my head. My mind buzzed. Tears immediately fell. It was not that I had cured Xiaolanqi. It was his final burst of lucidity before death. Xiaolanqi did not have many days left. Being as intelligent as he was, he quickly understood everything from my reaction. He smiled faintly and gently took my hand. Wantang, I want to marry you. I wiped my tears. Why speak of such things now? Besides, I am already married to you. Not as a principal wife. I want a proper wedding with all the formal rites and ceremonies. Color returned to his face. Actually, when I took you as a concubine, I used underhanded methods. The first time I saw you, I was moved. In all these years, it was the first time I lost sleep over someone. But marrying you then was not something that could be resolved in a day or two. I knew Jibai had always paid attention to you and feared he would take you as a concubine first. So I had no choice but to act first and could only wrong you by making you a concubine. I had planned to finish my official duties, then petition His Majesty for a marriage decree so no one in the manor would dare object. It is a pity. Perhaps because I am dying, my complexion looks even better than before, lips red and fresh, like a ghost in the mountains. I knew this was unfair to me, yet he said, Wantang, before I die, please fulfill this wish of mine. I do not want to travel the road to the afterlife alone. Give me a proper status. I closed my eyes. Tears streamed down my cheeks. Very well, our bridal chamber is rather simple. There is nothing in the village, so I will borrow some red paper and a pair of red candles. Though his body was extremely weak, Xiaolanqi insisted on pulling me to bow to heaven and earth and enter the bridal chamber. Facing the long, silent night and the mournful cries drifting from the village, we completed the ceremony. His face was deathly pale, yet he smiled at me. Wantang, from now on you are my wife. I choked and could not speak. Do not cry. After I die, take my letter and jade pendant back to the manor. My mother will take good care of you. You will have food and clothing, and live out this life in peace. I cried and scolded him. You are not allowed to die. If you die, I will remarry at once. Whether to a pig or a dog, I will not remain chaste for you. Xiaolanqi struggled to sit up and sighed softly. Then even as a ghost, I will not let you go. After a moment he added, remarrying is fine. At least someone will care for you. Just do not marry Xiaojibai. That younger brother of mine has been scheming since childhood, always seeking to climb higher. Perhaps he likes you, but if you stand in his way, he will show no mercy. Moreover, I have heard of that Miss Xu. She is extremely jealous and vicious. In the manor, any maidservant even slightly prettier than her was tormented to death, countless of them. You cannot win against her. His voice grew weaker and weaker. Hold me. I wept silently and nestled into his embrace. Outside the window all was quiet. Xiaolanqi's condition deteriorated daily. Most of the time he was unconscious. His moments of lucidity grew fewer. I knew he was nearing the end. I no longer cried. It felt as though all emotion had suddenly vanished from my body. I went without sleep or rest, day and night, huddled in the room experimenting with prescriptions. Just as I was nearly despairing, in an old medical book I had bought in the county town I found a prescription called Eldest decoction, said to be a sacred remedy for epidemics. It was made from black beans, licorice root, honeysuckle, fresh yellow earth, and other herbs. Honeysuckle had long been exhausted in the county. I had no choice but to climb the mountain myself to gather it. The mountain path was slippery and treacherous. Several times I fell and was covered in wounds, yet I finally found honeysuckle growing in the bushes along a cliff and carefully harvested it. At last I brewed Eldest decoction. With the mindset of a dead horse being treated as if it might still live, I tested the medicine on myself first. Confirming it was safe, I fed it to Xiaolanqi spoonful by spoonful. He could no longer swallow on his own. His breathing was faint. I supported his head and fed him bit by bit. Time passed second by second. I sat beside Xiaolanqi's bed. Outside the window the setting sun burned blood red. A long while later, Xiaolanqi suddenly coughed and turned over on his own. My fingers trembled as I gently placed them on his wrist. The pulse that had been weak and feeble now seemed slightly steadier. I stood frozen. My mind went blank. I dared not hope, terrified this was another disappointment. I could only stand stiffly, watching the dark, deathly pallor on his face slowly fade. I took his pulse again. It beat steadily, still weak, yet no longer the pulse of someone about to die. I collapsed to the floor, weeping and laughing at the same time. 3 days later, Xiaolanqi could sit up and eat on his own. Leaning against the bed, he sighed with emotion. I had already reached the Nahi bridge, but suddenly someone behind me said, "Your wife will not allow you to die. She commands you to return to the world of the living at once." So I came back. I glanced at him. You still have the strength to joke. It seems you are truly well. Of course I am well, he sighed again. I never imagined you would actually research a cure for the epidemic. If you had not come with me this time, I would certainly have died. Wantang, you saved me. I laughed. Then from now on this life of yours belongs to me. You must work like an ox and a horse for me. I expect you to do whatever it takes to repay my kindness." He smiled. "Whatever you say, I will obey." Once I confirmed the prescription was effective, I made it public. Before long the epidemic was finally brought under control. Only then did I learn how severe the outbreak had been. Every prefecture the flood had swept through had countless commoners infected. Even in the capital, many had fallen ill. Without timely treatment, the consequences would have been catastrophic. When we left, many villagers came to see us off. They called me Bodhisattva Lady. Though the village had nothing valuable, some brought a salted fish, others a basket of eggs. Many knelt and kowtowed to me. The procession escorting us stretched for hundreds, perhaps thousands of people, endless and unbroken. I did not know what to feel. I was joyful that so many lives had been saved, yet sorrowful that I had not discovered the cure sooner, allowing so many to die in vain. Xiaolanqi seemed to read my thoughts. He took my hand. "You have done very well. You saved tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of lives. All of them owe their survival to you." I nodded. The sunlight was brilliant. The summer heat was fierce. I waved toward the distant crowd. "I am leaving. Take care." Upon returning to the capital, we were greeted by a beautiful sunny day. The flowers and grass in Huanfeng courtyard had grown taller since our departure. Maidservants were helping me unpack when, weeping, one said, "The young mistress has finally returned. This servant heard you encountered a flash flood and was frightened out of her wits." I had not yet finished comforting her when a sudden commotion erupted outside. It was someone from the palace. Leading them was a beardless eunuch with a pale face, holding a bright yellow imperial edict. He smiled until his eyes curved into crescents. "Lady Chen, receive the edict." I knelt on the ground, my heart pounding like war drums in my ears. Lady Chen is kind-hearted and benevolent. During the raging epidemic, she researched a prescription that saved countless lives. We are greatly pleased and hereby specially enshove her as the Princess of Renan County, granting her a fief of 300 households. She shall receive a stipend but need not attend court. Everyone in the manor knelt to receive the edict. Upon hearing this, all eyes turned to me, complex, astonished. My mind buzzed. I could barely hear the rest. "County Princess, rise." The eunuch handed me the edict and said with a beaming smile, "Congratulations, County Princess. Saving so many people is truly a deed of immeasurable merit. This humble servant has a younger sister who also recovered after taking your medicine. This imperial edict was specially requested by Lord Xiao on your behalf. He even petitioned His Majesty for a marriage decree." I jerked my head up. Xiaolanqi stood at the courtyard gate, smiling at me. After the eunuch departed, Xiaolanqi approached and took a rolled document from his sleeve, offering it to me. It was a marriage certificate written on bright red paper, the formal betrothal documents for a proper wedding. A man marries, a woman weds, the 3 letters and 6 rights. I looked up at him. He lowered his eyes, his voice slightly low. "That day we bowed in the thatched cottage. We did not even have a proper wedding robe. I once said I would marry you as my principal wife. This finally counts." I clutched the marriage certificate tightly, unable to speak for a long time. At last I had waited for this day. Yet I never imagined the one marrying me would be Xiaolanqi. I sniffled and deliberately put on a stern face. "Who agreed to marry you?" "His Majesty has agreed," he replied without changing expression. "It is written on the imperial edict. The Princess of Renan County is betrothed to the Shaoqing of the Court of Judicial Review, Xiaolanqi." Did you not listen carefully? I hurriedly opened the edict and read it again. Sure enough, that line had been added at the end. I looked into his eyes, usually so calm and composed, now carrying a rare hint of nervousness. I could not help laughing and threw myself into his arms. "Very well, I will marry you." The old madam personally summoned me and held my hand while speaking for a long time. Finally she sighed. "That child Lanqi truly has an eye for people. He is also blessed." She even gave me a manor in the suburbs of the capital. Madam presented me with a set of precious ruby jewelry worth a fortune, saying it was her dowry. Even the old Marca, who usually paid little attention to inner court matters, gifted me several shops as additional dowry. I knew all of this was because of that imperial edict. Now I was the Princess of Renan County, no longer a lowly maidservant who could be bullied by anyone. The wedding date was set for the 16th of the month. Xiaolanqi wanted the full 3 letters and 6 rights, a grand banquet, everything short of letting the entire capital know he was about to marry. I teased him for being extravagant. He was full of justifications. "Last time when I took you as a concubine, we used only a small sedan carried through the side gate. This time I must make up for it. I want you to enter through the main gate, carried in a grand 8-bearer sedan, with a 10-mile procession of red wedding splendor. How could there be any making up like that? Yet he was rarely so stubborn, so I let him have his way. For several days, Huanfeng courtyard was bustling from dawn till dusk. I asked Chuntao to come to my room. She happily led a group of maidservants to cut and sew the wedding robe, compare betrothal gifts, and organize the dowry busy as a whirlwind all day. Unexpectedly at this moment Xiao Jibai arrived. I almost did not recognize him. In just a few months he had grown much thinner. The once well-fitting long robe now hung loosely on his frame. I heard he had also contracted the epidemic, and had only recently awakened from a coma saved by my prescription. Instinctively I grew wary, thinking he had come to ruin my wedding. But his expression was strange, neither angry nor resentful, but a look I had never seen on him before. A mixture of pain and sudden awakening. Xiaoman. His voice was hoarse, like sandpaper scraping rough stone. I took a step back. Second young master, is something the matter? He stopped. His lips moved as though 1,000 words were caught in his throat. In the end he only said, I am sorry to you. I replied indifferently. The second young master has nothing to apologize to me for. He shook his head, his eyes red. It is not about this time. I paused, hand-holding the teacup. I never understood why you suddenly became so resolute and chose my elder brother. Xiao Jibai's voice trembled, but when I contracted the epidemic and was near death, I had a dream. Everything in the dream was so real, exactly like my previous life. He looked up. At last I understand why you suddenly agreed to become my elder brother's concubine. Xiaoman. That was not a dream. It was our previous life, was it not? A bird in the courtyard spread its wings and left the branch. The afternoon sun slowly sank. I said nothing. Xiao Jibai smiled, but the expression was more painful than tears, as expected. Suddenly he seized my wrist. Xiaoman, in our previous life I wronged you. I endured enough days of being oppressed by others, having nothing in my hands, being nothing at all. I wanted to fight, to seize, to climb higher. I thought if I could only make you wait a little longer, sooner or later I would marry you. But tears spread across the ground. In 2 lifetimes, this was the first time I had seen Xiao Jibai cry. Later, after I entered the cabinet, I personally confiscated the entire Shu household and killed Xu Wenyu. I climbed higher and higher, yet felt only colder. Only when I was left with nothing but myself did I realize that power and status meant nothing. I only wanted you by my side. He looked at me almost pleadingly. I have already broken off the engagement with Xu Wenyu. Will you come with me? By my elder brother's side, you can only be a concubine. I will marry you as my principal wife, welcome you with an 8-bearer sedan through the main gate. From now on you will be my only wife. I will not disdain your origins, whether you were a maidservant or a princess, it does not matter. I raised an eyebrow and cut him off. Do you not know? Know what? He froze. The prescription that saved you was researched by me. His Majesty has infeft me as county princess. I and the eldest young master have already become engaged again. He wants to marry me properly as his wife with the full 6 rights. Xiao Jibai stood rooted to the spot. I spoke calmly. Xiao Jibai, your apology should not be said to me, but to the Xiaoman of our previous life, the one who trusted you and was ultimately beaten to death. It is a pity Xiaoman is already dead. She will never live again. I am your elder sister-in-law, the princess of Renan County, Chen Wantong. You have not yet paid your respects to me. Xiao Jibai stared at me blankly. Time flowed slowly. After a long while he suddenly laughed. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Then he violently coughed up a mouthful of blood and collapsed backward. 3 months after our wedding, I discovered I was pregnant. 10 months later, I gave birth to a daughter. I named her Anan, hoping she would live a peaceful, healthy life, smooth sailing forever. 3 years later, Xiao Lanqi was transferred to an outside post. Our entire family left the capital. Another 3 years passed. I received news that the Shu family had been confiscated. Xiao Jibai was exactly as he had been in our previous life, climbing higher and higher, yet he never married. Alone, he ignored every urging and scolding from the old madam and madam. He used every means to advance, becoming the sharpest blade in his Majesty's hand. Many called him the court's hunting dog, yet he did not care. The corruption case of the Shu family was investigated by him personally. The household was confiscated by him personally. The entire Shu family was sentenced to beheading. Only Xu Wenyu was beaten to death on his orders. Afterward, Xiao Jibai resigned from office. He left the capital with only a single horse. No one knew where he went. When the servant reported the news, it was a summer night. I was playing with my daughter. Hearing it, I felt somewhat dazed, and Anne ran over on her little feet holding a peach blossom branch. Mother, look. Father picked this and told me to bring it to you. I accepted the branch and could not help smiling as I followed her outside. A robe was draped over my shoulders. The full moon was approaching once more. Xiao Lanqi stood behind me. I took his hand. A cool breeze swept past, scattering peach blossoms across the ground like rain. Yes, the moon was about to become full again.